Let me introduce the topic in a very brief manner. As it is written here, you can go through that. That artificial intelligence, AI, a human invention, a machine, a tool, has unprecedented potentiality in changing our lives, both for good and for bad. And though humans who are inherently autonomous are responsible for anything the AIs do, the term AI autonomy has gained currency lately. The question is, to what extent is it justifiable? Okay, I'm not going to answer this question right now. After my presentation, at the end of the presentation, we might be able to get some answer. You understand? As this is a platform of questioning and answering, and questioning is more important than answering, so even if I don't have an answer, I can raise some questions here. You understand? So the theoretical framework that I have is actually coming from critical security studies. But before getting to that, I'd like to beg your attention to a hypothetical scenario, and that is about two fictional states, the state of demonia and the state of adamia. You understand? So imagine the state of demonia has been using AI to target the state of adamia or its enemies elsewhere. The state of demonia may have other enemies as well, you know. And in doing so, they are killing thousands of innocent people. So now, can we really say or ask the autonomous AIs are responsible for this? Can we really argue like that? The autonomous AIs are responsible for this, not the state of demonia, you know? Or is it the demonians who are using the AI tools for their sickening political purposes that should be held accountable? Again, I am leaving questions on it. Okay, so this is a hypothetical scenario that we will try to figure out throughout my presentation, the answer to those questions I'm talking about. Now, I have already mentioned about my theoretical framework. Let me elaborate a little bit more. When I say politicization, I actually follow the critical security studies idea of politicization. It talks about, you know, how we, in this political world, the world that is divided into so many polities, still we go through a process called politicization. We politicize issues like security. It is simply a veil that we create, you know, to hide some political purposes. You understand? So when it comes to politicization of even, you know, issues like technology, we see some states are doing it very tacitly with some political purpose which cannot be even traced by others, which cannot be even apparently discovered by others. So therefore, we have to be very critical about this. We have to take the established terms and terminologies with a bit of salt, so that we don't fall or put our feet into the traps of those, you know, politically motivated actors in international relations. And when it comes to security, and specifically, I'd like to mention Ken Booth is a famous international relations scholar from the University of Wales, and he has a specific school of thought which is called Wales School. And in that school, Kenneth Booth specifically elaborated the fact that security has been politicized in this world. The way security issues are presented, you know, it's not always correct. It's not always unbiased. We have to read between the lines. You understand? What is the political purpose of making the issues security issues? So that's my theoretical framework. With this, I can add something even more to, make it even broader. For example, another critical theorist, Robert W. Cox, long ago, most of the international relations students know about that. He argued that whatever theorization happens, knowledge building happens in social sciences in general, can actually be biased and are actually biased. Because theories, concepts are actually to serve certain people, are actually to serve the purpose of certain groups and states. So therefore, we cannot really accept those theories, concepts and ideas as universal. You understand? Some important facts about AI, how we actually perceive AI, and what are the facts regarding that. So people are already overwhelmed by seeing the unprecedented feats achieved through the use of AI, and AIs are man-made machines, as I already mentioned, designed and programmed to act in certain ways, and the level of automation that we have in AI, in the case of AI, is much higher than that of the traditional automated machines. So here is a fact: AI has automation. AI is like other automated machines. You understand? Maybe the level of automation is much higher in AI than in other machines. You understand? But there is no doubt about that some level of automation is there. Okay? So, in the next slide we see the continuation of some facts. AI tools may apparently, again, I recognize the fact that may apparently act like humans, especially when it comes to humanoid AIs. It appears like humans. You understand? And the way Hollywood movies and all other entertainment industries are, portraying AI in front of people, in our imagination, we have already thought that AIs can act exactly like the humans. Who didn't watch Terminators, right? Terminator movies, that's an AI. You understand? Arnold Schwarzenegger, the way he appeared, and act like humans, fight like humans, even more powerful than humans. So that definitely has an implication in our understanding of AI. So in popular perception, AI is almost like humans, and it is getting further developed. And then AIs may appear to be much more intelligent, even as I have already mentioned, and capable than average individual human beings in many regards. And we have already talked in many different ways that AIs could take away our jobs. We might lose our jobs. There might be huge crises in the job industry. It is simply because, as to a certain extent Abdul Samad mentioned, that we will need to upgrade ourselves. You understand? If we don't upgrade ourselves, so that jobs that are actually done by the average people with average skill, with average data and information, they might suffer a lot. You understand? But the good thing is, if we upgrade ourselves, then we might be able to retain many, if not most, of our jobs. Okay, so that's one fact about AI. And then finally, AIs seem to make even decisions for themselves at times, though the great algorithmic mechanism is there to make this happens for them. In fact, I can't really explain scientifically how algorithm works, but we know this is kind of a process, right? Step-by-step process where our uses, our data, our information is being used by the machine to make further decisions, and in the form of different outcomes we see that in different ways. Okay, so these are the facts about the AI, and now I would like to quote one specific scholar who is actually an Under Secretary General of the United Nations and the Rector of the United Nations University, and his name is Tisilji Marwala, and he wrote in one of his recent pieces that AI algorithms are at the heart of decision making in machine learning systems. However, they are designed, trained and optimize using subjective metrics, deterministic models, and probabilistic reasoning, each introducing unique governance challenges. The choices embedded in these algorithms influence technical performance, fairness, transparency, and accountability. Addressing the algorithmic problem is critical in ensuring that AI systems are aligned with societal values and operate ethically, responsibly, and inclusively. So in this particular excerpt code, we see even though AI is run by algorithm through an algorithmic mechanism, but still AI can be highly biased, because of the subjectivities of the creators or the people who are running these AIs, not just creating. You understand? So there might be a lack of objectivity, and when it comes to governance and other performances, we must be cautious, and to what extent we need to depend on the algorithmic process, and to what extent we need to take into account the intervention, human interventions is a serious question. So that said, and having that in mind, I would like to talk about now autonomy, the concept of autonomy, because this is the main point of my whole presentation. And the concept of autonomy, as we know, that it involves self-rule and self-determination at its core, based on freedom of will. Freedom of will is the key concept here, and it is also characterized by independence in decision making according to one's own beliefs and values, as well as subjective preferences. I have already mentioned about that. And AI can be of autonomy can be of various kinds: personal or individual, collective, such as political, and of course moral, etc. When it comes to autonomy, the discussion of autonomy, generally we divide pre-Kantian idea of autonomy and post-Kantian idea of autonomy. I'm not getting into the detail of these discussion, philosophical discussion. A philosopher is here, so he might be able to enlighten us later. But what I can tell you, whether it is pre-Kantian or post-Kantian, the main concept, the root concept remains the same, and that is about self-rule and self-determination. And it comes from another very important concept, and that is about freedom of will. And when it comes to freedom of will in the entire world of creations, we see there is no doubt about the fact that humans have free will, right? Across the philosophical boundaries, across the theological boundaries, people are, in opinion that humans have free will. There are some fringe opinions regarding the free will of other beings, other animals, but there is no disagreement on the fact that we, the humans, we are free, we are born free, and we are born with free will. You understand? And that is something very important to understand here. That makes us different not only from other animals, but also from our own creation. You understand? So when it comes to autonomy, this autonomy is exclusively, almost exclusively I would say, attributed to the humans, not to other beings. You understand? And this understanding is shared by, as I said, people across the philosophical and theological borders. Now, having said that, there is another very important, concept that is about sovereignty. If we have autonomy, then what is sovereignty? Then who are the sovereigns, right? These questions can be raised by many, even some of you might be thinking of that. So there must be a distinction, should be provided here between sovereignty and autonomy. In fact, when it comes to sovereignty, we deal mostly with power, the supreme power. You understand? And the very idea of sovereignty was born somewhere in the 16th, 17th century, and it is mostly attributed to the French philosopher Jean Baudin. And according to him, sovereignty is something that is considered to be a unique quality of the state, which itself personified the supreme power when enacting, applying, and maintaining law according to the French philosopher already mentioned. And theologically, this is very important. Theologically, sovereignty can only belong to God, who is the creator and the sustainer of the universe and everything within it. So sovereignty, understanding of sovereignty actually makes a huge division among humanity. When it comes to states, the politicians, the philosophers, they attribute sovereignty to the states. When it comes to theology, the theologians and the practitioners of religion, they attribute sovereignty to God. You understand? So there is a difference. But on the other hand, autonomy can be possessed by anyone, whether you have sovereignty or not. You understand? As a human being, as I already mentioned, explained, that I have autonomy, but I may not have sovereignty. I may not consider myself as a sovereign human being. But in the past, or even today, the monarchs, the kings, the emperors, they might think themselves as sovereign. In fact, they are sometimes identified as such. They are sometimes described as such by the political philosophers. The sovereign of England, for example, the sovereign of Austro-Hungarian Empire, the sovereign of Ottoman Empire. This is how in the past they were described. Maybe not right now, but now sovereignty is ascribed with the idea of state only. Is it clear? So there is a difference between sovereignty and autonomy. So when it comes to AI, people do not really talk about sovereignty, they talk about autonomy. You understand? So as I say, autonomy can be possessed by anyone who doesn't have sovereignty. But again, in this case as well, AI doesn't have autonomy as well. That is what I'm claiming. So don't get confused here. So autonomy or sovereignty, whatever it is, it has nothing to do with AI, and that is what I am proposing here. But the problem is the phrase AI autonomy is widely used now. I already claimed that AI cannot have autonomy. You understand? Because the way I define, or we define autonomy, it is supposed to have a free will, it is supposed to have self-rule, self-determination, one is supposed to have beliefs even, and values. AI doesn't have anything of this. You understand? So therefore, I claim that AI doesn't have sovereignty. And now the problem is, the phrase AI autonomy is widely used now. Even if you search Google right now, you will find thousands of references of AI autonomy, thousands of results, hundreds of websites giving you ideas about AI autonomy. So why this spread the idea and the term is, we can imagine. Scholars, laymen, and the masses alike are using the term AI autonomy. And let me tell you another thing, it has actually something to do with the way entertainment industry is constructing our perception. The moment I see, Terminator, for example, I had already given an example of, that Terminator is so free and so powerful, and it is working like a human, even more powerful, then in my understanding, in my perception, that remains. And when these terms, AI autonomy and something like this, I come across, I easily accept that. It is something very catchy, it is something very attractive, and humans like suspense in life. So if I accept this AI autonomy, some sort of suspense I can create further. You understand? I can imagine, there might be a world in future, in a decade, or in some after some decades, where there will be war, and that war will be fought between the humans and the autonomous AIs. What will happen then? We have to be prepared. However childish it might sound, but actually in reality it happens. You understand? So this is how our imagination works, and the construction of that imagination goes on. So there lies a problem. But still, we have to say that most of the justifications are just based on the fact that AI can perform certain tasks without direct human intervention, completely ignoring the fact that human intervention exists a priori in the form of inputting data and information, etc. I mean, the people who are still supporting AI autonomy, they will base their argument, on the fact that it can perform these and that task, and you see, human doesn't need to, intervene in that. There is no human interference, so therefore they are autonomous, or some level of autonomy they have. That is what some people claim, but they completely ignore the fact that even before performing this task, human intervention was there. Human invention, as a human invention, it has human intervention, and constantly human is working behind that. And that's how the tech companies and all other capitalist ventures are going on. You understand? Continuously they are inventing, reinventing, updating their tools, their devices, and therefore AI has been becoming more even powerful apparently, and performing different tasks that do not really need human intervention apparently. So that is the case of AI autonomy that we have now. Now the problem that I have already described has an ethical part. You understand? It's not about the fact only that AI is not autonomous. It is also about ethics. You understand? I mean, anyone can argue. What is the problem? Why are you so pissed off with the term AI autonomy? You understand? I mean, what if I use AI autonomy? I mean, it doesn't have any implication in real life. You understand? I mean, for the sake of understanding that the day world, kind of freely I use AI autonomy. But in my opinion, that has serious ethical implications. If not now, in future. And I would even argue, right now, the implication is very visible. You understand? We don't need to even wait for the future. You understand? As I have already mentioned about two fictional states, Demonia and Adamia. Demonia is already killing the people of Adamia using AI. You understand? So if right now we don't consider this as a serious threat, this concept, we don't take it seriously, then we might, have even further problems, huge problems, catastrophic problems in future. So that's why I have taken this very seriously. And the ethical problem is that AI does not have any ethical code. Even if, for the sake of argument, I accept that yes, AI has autonomy, but still the fact is AI does not have any ethical code of its own, unless you put something in the form of data and information. Whereas autonomous beings like human beings have ethical code. You understand? Whatever the source is, even if we do not have any traditional sources like religion or educational system or society in general, still humans can think. Humans can figure out what is ethical for him and what is not. You understand? That is something natural of the human beings. But in the case of AI, the machines, they can't have this ethical tool in any way. And then this apparent lacking can be used by numerous unethical users of AI. Now again, the whole thing comes down to the humans. As AI does not have an ethical code, that means AI can be used by anyone unethically. You understand? And consequently, many unethical applications and actions of AI can be attributed to the so-called AI autonomy. That means a rogue state like Demonia can use AI and then justify all the wrong activities, evil activities in the name of AI autonomy. I didn't do that, AI did, right? AI is autonomous. Are you getting this point? So if at some point rogue states like these start talking about AIs in this manner to serve their political purposes only, evil political purposes I would say, what we should do? How should we survive? How should we protect ourselves? That's a very, existential question, not only an ethical question. You understand? So therefore, the problem with the AI autonomy is clearly visible here. So now, the normative question we are left with actually, ultimately, I'm finishing it off. The normative question we are left with that involves, is that the world we want to live in and live for the future generations? The question for you, is this the world we want to live in and we want to live for the future generations, right? AI autonomy, very catchy. We are using that. We are giving some sort of validity to that, right? States, all the states, rogue states or not, everyone is using that. And at some point in the public perception, it has become so natural and normal, so valued, that there is no opposition to that. It has become normalized. And then all these unethical uses of AI will be attributed to AI autonomy only. Is that the world we want to live in? Is that the world we want to live for our future generations? The answer is, I guess, no. My answer is no, and I can say for you too, the answer is no. I don't know whether you disagree or not. Thus, it is a high time for humans to be honest enough to take full responsibility for their inventions and actions. The AIs are machines, and they should be treated as such. If they become our Frankenstein, it is not because they become autonomous. Rather, we fail to manage them. Maybe we have underestimated human capacities and power as well. Ultimately, it actually represents human capacities and power, not machine capacities and power. You understand? We see, even in some videos, Abdul Samad had shown that it can become, much stronger. It can overcome, the human power and control, But actually, that represents human power, capacities, what human can do. You understand? When we didn't have modern AI, for example, we in the 1940s we discovered, atomic bomb, right? Using fusion, physics knowledge, right? Who could have imagined that using that fission and fusion, one day humans will invent something that will have that level of destructive ability? We could not imagine, right? So does that mean those bombs are autonomous and they became more powerful than the humans? Of course not. They actually represent the human potentials, human power. You understand? And humans are supposed to take full responsibility of that. And therefore, we have so many safeguards in the world so that nobody needs to use those atomic bombs. You understand? So if we can have the consensus regarding atomic bombs and other weapons of mass destructions, why can't we have consensus regarding AIs and its evil use as well? Rather than saying, oh, AI is autonomous. You understand? Rather, we should say AI is our invention, and we can take full responsibility of that. If we can't, that's our failure. And whoever fails should be punished. That should be one of the agendas in the realm of international law. You understand? As a student of international relations, I can assure that at some point people will claim that there must be, already the process has begun. A few months ago, we probably mentioned that in Paris and somewhere, some sort of a treaty summit took place. Right, exactly. So that's how things should proceed. Thank you so much for your attention.